Welcome back to the Composing Made Simple podcast. This is episode 17. On this episode of Composing Made Simple, we're going to talk about some of our favorite VIs that we've acquired throughout this year of 2019. We'll also do a little year in review for all of us. Then we're going to go into Junkie XL Brass from Orchestral Tools. Then we're going to talk about a little controversy with the Discovery Channel not paying residuals. And then lastly, we're going to go into what we're looking forward to most in 2020. So I hope you take the moment to listen to this episode. So let's get on into it.
Composing made simple. We talk about something new every show. Composing made simple. Grab a coffee, have a seat, and let's go.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Just say welcome back. Welcome to the podcast. We apologize for the last episode coming a little bit later than normal. We hope to get it out before Thanksgiving, but
well, I mean, Todd apologizes.
Yes, I apologize.
I don't apologize. You can take this when you get it.
Yes. I didn't have time to edit. Thanksgiving hit, holidays, and so we got it out, I think, the 1st of December, so a few days late, but anyway, it's nonetheless, you'll get 2 episodes this month in December.
Nice.
But anyway, we just apologize for that little lateness, but it's the holiday season, and we've all been very, very busy, and we're actually lucky that we got some time to actually get together today to discuss right before Christmas. So, we expect this episode just to kind of be a plethora there, I guess, of just random stuff, and like we said, we've all been kind of really busy with the holidays and everything, so it's going to be a fun episode. But anyway, on to the episode. Like I said, so how's everybody been doing?
Really nice. Yeah, just trying to wrap up the last, few little projects before going for vacation for a week, end off the year,
Oh, yeah.
And just get ready for the new year.
Yep, start afresh.
Yeah.
Start trying to do your
Fresh decade.
new lists of stuff that will halfway through the
absolutely.
year that you've abandoned. Mostly, sometimes, I guess. I did
We'll
that.
try. We'll
I think I did that last year. I wrote out a list, and I'm afraid to go back and even look at it because my life did a traumatic change this year compared to where I was a year ago. That's just crazy how, like, when you look in retrospect, so I think last year on the podcast we did like a year in review, and I was in a different spot completely than I am now.
I think all of us were.
Yeah, I think we all were, especially you, Curtis. I mean,
That's right.
but I think at that time that was when you knew, right? Your big project.
Nope.
No, okay.
It wasn't until the next February.
Right. Yeah, so
So,
look at that, how much
yeah.
it changed in a year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so I think
awesome.
Chris mentioned we wanted to talk about kind of our favorite virtual instruments or things we picked up this year, music related, I guess. Since you mentioned it, Chris, you want to go ahead and just start going?
Yeah, sure. Cool. Yeah, for sure. So, I think over the course of the year, I've kind of found out stuff that that I've tried to stick with now and then for regular projects. And in terms of orchestrally, I mean, I don't really do sound design, but orchestrally, like the orchestral tool stuff and Cinesample stuff always has kind of spoken to me. Spitfire always sounds really nice and classy and elegant, but for me, it's kind of just a different flavor that I just never really experimented with or got used to. So the OT Symphony and the Cinesample stuff is really nice, and I've said it many times before, it's my bread and butter libraries that I go to. And what's really cool is that Cinesamples they actually offered a Sony room tone a while ago, and I think it's still up there somewhere, but it's free and you can download it and put that in your track, and you get this nice stage sound in the background while you just put it really low and it goes. And then but in terms of like sound design and stuff, Sonuscore came out with a new library called Elysion, and it's kind of their follow-up to the orchestra. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically like a rhythmic generator using the orchestra. And I personally really like the sound of it. The engine is very intuitive. It works really well. So there's no pre-recorded phrases. It's the engine putting all of those patterns together on the fly, and it sounds really nice. And they actually have all these pre-orchestrated ensemble combinations for you, so it gets you up and running really quickly. Really good for like action scenes and things where you need like a rhythmic pulse going. So Elysion is like the equivalent of that, but on the sound design side. And they treated this library as if it was an acoustic instrument. So they sampled each of these electronic sounds independently and You can tweak them the way you want, apply them to the engine, and you'll get these rhythms and arps and stuff. And just like the orchestra, you have this animated folder where they put together a bunch of these sounds, so it gets you up and running right away. It's really good for soundscapes, pads, hits, drones, and things. Really, really, cinematic and full, and just a really beautiful sound. So I was pleasantly surprised by that library, and it's pretty affordable. I think it's like maybe 200 euros or things, something like that. So if you're in the on the hunt for a sound design library focused on kind of the rhythmic aspect of things, I would definitely take a look at that. And finally, just to give a shout out to a couple of jazz libraries on the market, I just released a Christmas medley yesterday for like swing and big band and stuff. So I primarily used Orchestral Tools Glory Days library in that, as well as Project Sam's Swing More for their drums and some ensemble patches, just to glue things together a little bit. And then Realitone has their Screaming Trumpet, which is really nice, and that adds a really nice sheen on top because it's pretty dry, so it really cuts through the mix well. And it has a ton of articulations that you customize and play around with, so very versatile. And yeah, so those are kind of my top few. I'm sure I'll think of some more as we continue, but I would say this year those are kind of all the ones that I really ended up using a lot. I have to shout out the Cinematic Studio series as well, of course. Their strings and brass are very lovely, and I love their solo strings as well. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, going back to like the
Todd,
orchestra tools,
yeah.
for you, Chris, like that's for me. Like when I think of like what you do, like that fits your kind of tone, your sound quality. You know what I mean? Like what you kind of write. So I could see why you gravitate towards those libraries.
Yeah, I just really like the sound with a lot of detail in it, and I feel like every sample that Orchestral Tools records has this amount, like this type of rawness and detail that Spitfire it's detailed, yes, but it also has this like sheen on it. It's almost like a gloss that
it's that reverb.
I personally,
it's the room thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that where it's been recorded, that room sound. Because like one thing I could say, like if you're not using all Spitfire libraries and you try to mix with other ones and you're using main Spitfire, like it's very hard sometimes to get it to mesh, which I found.
Yeah.
So yeah, but like and I think we did mention that Cinesamples thing on a previous episode that you were talking about. I can't remember what episode, but it was a couple episodes ago. I think we made mention of it because that's when they just released it. For me this year, this has been a weird year because it started off like I think I remember telling you guys, like I took a break from doing sample music, orchestral kind of whatever you want to call it, and I was focused more on rock and kind of writing songs, ambient stuff, and going back and playing more guitar, and just writing songwriting songs. And then I think when we talked to the podcast, I think it was over the summer that I started getting back into it. And it was kind of like therapeutic for me to get away. Because like when you get in, I mean, I understand you guys do this for a living, this is your job, so I have a little bit different than you. But like I said, my year from last year compared to right now, just a year ago, my life's changed a lot. I was doing a lot of freelance work, not music, but what I do in my day job. And, then that kind of just disappeared. And, I was doing Twitch for a while and hitting that very hard. And it wasn't even music. It was just like playing video games and just having fun. And then I was working part-time, and then finally my part-time job became my full-time job. So it just took a while. When that happened, I don't have a lot of time, a lot of free time. I have a family, I have 2 kids, and all that stuff. So just to fit in here and there, I try to find, just to write something. So, and then I kind of found myself back to, sample libraries again. So I think something that really hit me this year that I wasn't expecting it was output stuff. And I know Curtis has talked about it lots of times on the podcast and recommended it, and I have as well. But for me, I think it all happened when I saw John Wick 3. I just love the score. Tyler Bates, I've always liked him. You know, as a because he comes from the world I come from. You know, he's a rock guitar dude that does this kind of thing, and I know he uses output stuff. And when I found their stuff, it just really resonated with me because it's sound designy, but I don't have to like go under the hood. You know what I mean? You can if you want, but like it's, you know what I mean? It's like right out of the box, you can get really cool sounds and you can tweak it a little bit here and there. So that's why I like it, because I'm not a tweaker, and I know Curtis is like that too. You know, I mean, I love Omnisphere, but like if you really want to get into Omnisphere, you know, you really gotta get in there and tweak it. And I just like, man, I just want sounds, and I just want to get going and writing, you know, writing the music, because then I'll get bogged down in all the details. I'm one of those people. Like once I start, then I'm wasting 6 hours just on details and not doing anything. So anyway, yeah. So I think for me, just the output stuff, and it's very reasonably cost. I was shocked at all this stuff you can get, and I think the best thing you can do is buy their bundle, which I think they were just had it on sale. They might even have it on sale right now. Let me check. And I was using Arcade for a while. I canceled the subscription, but it's one of those things that you can like do it at any time, and it's really cool because like it pertains to more than just what we do. I mean, you can find stuff that are just for all genres of music. Yeah, their instruments and effects, the full suite, you can get 65% off. It's like $800 for the whole bundle. Dude, that's insane. It's like with 9 engines, 21 expansions. Dude, that's a steal compared to, you know, like that's like one library. And all their stuff is really good. They got Rev, Signal. Like Signal I love. So I guess if I want to promote what to get if you're just looking at something, I would say either if you're looking for like kind of synthy stuff, like Substance I think would go. Movement is amazing. And probably Signal. I'd look at those two for your first ones. Or Movement. Movement's really cool. I know we've talked about it, but I'll just make a real highlight. Is you put it on like your effects chain, and like let's say you have like a drone or something, and you want to add some movement to it and some characteristics. Well, you slap Movement on there, and you can find a rhythm pattern, and it completely changes the sound. I use it on guitars, and oh my god, it can make guitars sound completely different. Like, you know, like heavy distorted guitars. I put it on a couple tracks, and it just like doesn't even sound like a guitar. It kind of sounds like a synth guitar. So I don't know. Anyway, so those are kind of like my recommendations. Outside of like VI libraries, I guess I'll just get on my little soapbox and say I haven't really bought much this year. I mean, I'm one of those dudes. I've been in this for so long now that like I'm not doing any big budget films or projects. So it's like for me, I don't need to be, you know, up with the latest and greatest stuff. I find what works for me and use it because, you know, I know how to use it very well and effectively. And when you start getting new libraries, you got to kind of learn it. And I'm kind of sick of doing that. I'm kind of sick of learning all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you have to learn, but you know what I mean? It's like, I just want to write music and have fun. So, yeah. But I mean, I would say output for me has been the biggest, like, change for me because I was like you, Chris, you know, I'm not very sound designy guy, you know what I mean? And that really kind of changed me, you know. So, but yeah, that's kind of me. How about you, Curtis?
Cool.
Well, I mean, to start, 3 words: Eric Whitacre Choirs.
Oh Jesus! Oh my God, I forgot that. Yes, yes. Amen.
I mean, probably one of the best things I've bought in 5 years. I mean, it's really good. It's really, really just stunning. It's very simple to use. The tone is magnificent. You can do things with that choir VST that are not possible with other ones. There's so many, I guess, sampled choirs that are really designed to be these massive, shouty, pseudo-Latin,
epic
staccato chords behind full orchestra. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. If that's your deal, cool, awesome. It's not mine. I would like a choir that can do what choirs can do, and what choirs typically do when it's just a choir. And for that purpose, you know, EWC is it's beautiful. There is nothing that is as beautiful as it. And a lot of it just comes down to, this is an interesting. I've never really been into the collaborator we need to, have Hans Zimmer strings or Eric Whitacre choirs or Junkie XL Brass. Like that's never really appealed to me as like an approach. But I think that this shows probably where that goes the best, because I don't think it would sound like this if he wasn't involved, because it sounds like what he has made his like whole musical career into, right? Without him, I don't think it wouldn't be nearly as good. And certainly without, I know it's not, I think some of the men are from different groups, but certainly the women's part are from his actual ensemble that he has, curated out of some of the best singers in the world. And it really, really shows. So that's my like top pick for the year.
Check out
Spitfire Labs choir. Is that use samples from that?
I don't know. Yeah, I think so, because they released it right at the same time, and usually that's what they do.
Yeah.
It's usually kind of used as a promotion for the bigger, expensive library to put out that free
that gives you a
taste.
Yeah, taste of what it kind of sounds like, the tone and what it's going for. That Labs one, yeah, definitely. I was just gonna say. Cool. Go on Spitfire's YouTube channel and find the Erica Whitacre interviews. The guy just oozes with like inspiration. Like, I'm not a choir guy by any stretch of the imagination. I don't listen to choir music. I respect it. I get it. But just listening to that guy talk and just like how he explained it and how like you could do this and that and it's like, okay, I want your library, and it's like, and I bought it when it was on sale. I can't remember. They had it on sale, and I was like, dude, when this thing goes on sale, I'm buying it because I remember Curtis, talking about it all the time. And I was hesitant, because I'm not a choir dude. But oh my God, I totally forgot that one, Curtis. But yeah, just definitely check out that interview. It's really good. And he has great hair.
Yeah. So that's my big pick for the year. I guess other sort of things that have also been great. I guess I'll stay on the Spitfire trend for just a little bit and mention their LCO, London Contemporary Orchestra stuff. Consistently excellent. Consistently, load up a patch, start playing and realize this is useful. Like all the time. It's always useful, and it's very unique, and it does a thing that other things can't. I actually use it as synth kind of. It doesn't really sound like real instruments. It sounds like just gorgeous, perfect, beautiful synth pads that are always interesting. So that's probably, my, another one I would throw on there. Another one that I really like this year is that 8DO SuperString. I've actually got, 4 or 5 tracks just sitting around waiting to be done that use that. And I just love it. It's a great little thing. And unfortunately they have it in their V8P program. So unless you've decided to give them tons of money, you might not be able to access it right away, but keep that in mind in case you ever get into V8P. That would be my first thing that I would recommend out of V8P. If you manage to have the privilege of giving them more money. I
think so it's $1,000 or something. I can't remember.
I think it's 2. I think it's 2. If you spend $2,000, you're automatically in.
Wouldn't take you very long considering.
No. And they have good stuff, and they have $2,000 worth of awesome samples you could buy. It's just, I know that that's a lot for a lot of people, and that's understandable. And I don't, I don't want to be like, go do it so you could get, SuperString's worth $2,000. It's not, but it's definitely been a really unique and interesting, beautiful thing. And then I guess my last one would just be the Heavy-Otsity, Forzo and Vento, which I think were this year, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yes.
Or might have been last year, but I know Vento obviously just came out ago. Those have been great. It's just fun to have that little bit of interesting sound designy stuff to throw into stuff. There's just always something in there that I can find that's useful. So.
Cool.
Yeah, that's my those are my most recent things that pop out to me.
Right. Yeah, it's been an interesting year, like we said, like we talked about, from a year ago, where we were, and obviously Curtis landed a pretty big project this year, and and I know Chris, you've been, your stuff's really starting to take off, YouTube and stuff like that, which is amazing. Yeah. Oh, I also want to throw in there the Unfinished. We can't say anything without the Unfinished being mentioned.
Yeah, just buy everything he makes.
Yeah, everything that guy makes.
Everything he makes. Yeah.
He released Oh, what the hell?
If you're like me and you hate, and I've heard other composers complain about this too, but if you hate that process of patch hunting where you're just spending hours and hours and hours clicking and auditioning synth patches, and maybe a third or a fourth of them are useful, that's not the unfinished. The unfinished is here's 1,000 sounds for this, and all of them are good.
Amazing.
All of them are amazing.
It's like, oh, can I put this in my track?
Yes.
But
The answer
you'll
is
find
yes.
one. And then you'll be like, okay, this is awesome. Then you'll go and, oh my God, I want this one on my track. Damn it, but it doesn't work. It's different. I've done that plenty of times. But the newest one he put out was really good. I can't think of the name of it. It's kind of based off of the Hans Zimmer Blade Runner 2049 and kind of that sound thing. I can't remember what it's called now. But yeah, it's awesome. Just it runs a little slow on my system because it's pretty beefy, the samples. Because I think it's using the newest Omnisphere version. But yeah, that's another one I'd have to mention. But yes, I mean, it's been an interesting year. At least for me musically, it wasn't where I wanted it to be this year. Because I remember at the tail end of last year, my goal was to write a lot more music. It started off that way for me, like I said. But once I got my job went full time, it doesn't leave you much room to do a lot. When you have 40 hours a week, you have 2 kids, so you find the time. But things happen.
Yeah.
So the other thing we just wanted to touch on, I don't want to spend a ton of time because it's sort of there's a big firestorm over this, deservedly so, on the internet right now. We just kind of wanted to mention this Discovery Channel Residuals bit. So the Discovery Channel has decided they no longer want to pay composers residuals on any shows that they're doing, not just going forward, but retroactively. Like, they are telling composers that they will go rip their music out of old stuff if they refuse to give up their royalties on this stuff. And it's been pretty interesting to see the response. So if you're sort of like I have been in the past fairly recently, you're not really familiar with how this works. Most of the time when you write for TV especially, you are you're given an upfront fee that's a little bit maybe lower than what you would like to make off the total project. It's probably lower than what you want your total compensation to be. But what happens is that you then register all the tracks that you write for that TV show with what's called a performing rights organization like ASCAP and BMI. We've done a whole episode on royalties and how they work. And you could then get royalties when the music is used on TV. Well, Discovery has now decided that they no longer want to work with composers who aren't willing to essentially give up those royalties. So it's not that the royalties aren't going to be paid. They will be paid, but they want the writers to register the tracks with the writer being Discovery, I believe, is how I understand it, so that they will be collecting those royalties back into their coffers. And this is obviously made a lot of people pretty mad, and I think that this really just is kind of a bit of a shot across the bow. If you want to do this for a living, this is something you need to pay attention to, because royalties are a way, one of those really cool ways that we've sort of figured out how to make everybody win, and sort of give composers a way to continue benefiting and continue to be compensated for their work when someone else is compensated, is using their work to make more money, right? Like every time Discovery Channel show X gets shown, Discovery's making more money, right? And the idea being that a small bit of that should go back to the creators has always been sort of a thing. So this is pretty unprecedented, and it's got a lot of people, especially big name composers, into this. And I have worked for very low compensation. I have worked for no compensation. I'm not going to go out and tell you that to do that is immoral, but I would ask you to consider what you're giving up, because the thing about this is that this isn't like we're going to take your royalties for the first show you work on, but then as you continue working with us, if we like your stuff, you'll see that kind of come back to you. As you continue to work. This is forever, right? Forever. Right. We're never going to work. There is no promise of this getting better. And in fact, like I said, if you've ever worked with them before, apparently their plan is to just either to tell you, give us the writer share, we're cutting your music out, which is going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of work. I'm not a person who thinks that royalty-free music is evil. There's nothing wrong with licensing tracks for stuff like this, but especially with like documentaries, which presumably Discovery Channel has a few of. High-end stuff like that really needs custom scoring, and I think they're going to find that this is not as wise of a move as maybe it appeared on first glance. I saw somebody on a forum talking about this, saying that they've actually worked with Discovery, and they were claiming that they've actually, had to put Discovery Channel executives' names on the writers on previous projects. Who knows if that's true? Could be totally false, but it doesn't sound too out of character given this. So, if you're going forward and Discovery's coming to you and they're saying we don't want to, and the other thing is that Discovery Channel pays like very little upfront. Their upfront money is apparently very bad. So, and it's not like they're raising that, right? It's not like they're, I've worked on and continue to work on projects where there aren't, it's total buyout, but the upfront is great, right? And that's what you should be looking for in those scenarios. So I would consider, again, I understand that when you're trying to break in, sometimes, that's the only, bit of leverage you have is to maybe be a little bit cheaper than the other guy. But just know that this is not okay, and we need to kind of maybe say no to this one. I'm definitely with everybody saying that this is unacceptable. So
did they give a reason why they're doing this, or they just kind of just did it?
I don't care what their reason is for.
Well, I know. I'm just saying maybe.
But I don't. So I don't know. I mean,
funding's just not where it used to be, or something.
I mean, I would assume everything is just a money grab now, right?
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Oh well, and I'm sure that Discovery Channel does have a difficulty. TV is kind of having a hard time, mainstream TV. And as you watch Discovery Channel go from, a channel about education to being more and more reality shows, you can understand that they're kind of have to change it. But this is not the way to do it. This is not how you're going to do this. But I would suggest maybe putting out higher quality stuff. Might be a good way to do this. That's one of the things that's happened this week that I've just been appalled over, and just wanted to throw it out there in the podcast. And since I know that we kind of try to speak to not just people working in composition, but people who want to be composers, just like see this is what's coming down the pipe. And there, if Discovery Channel gets away with this, you're going to see everybody doing it very soon. So, and there are already places who apparently do this, and
it's a crazy thing, man, because like a lot of budgets, as you guys know, for film, nobody wants to pay you anymore, and it's like, what we do, it's work, man. And now you do 15 other things other than write music, and it's sad. I get it. I think what's happening, we're in another kind of change. What happened with the music business before, with Napster and all that stuff. Well, now with TV and films and with streaming online, cable's dying. I mean, the way what we grew up, me and Curtis grew up watching TV it's just, dude, I haven't watched TV in years. Like, I don't sit and watch the TV. I fire up my Apple TV, open up YouTube, Twitch, or Netflix, and now Disney Plus, and watch what I want to watch when I want to watch it. That's it. I don't sit and just flip the TV on and have it run like we used to back in, when we were growing up. And I'm sure, Chris, you'd probably remember that. But some people still do, and it's just different. So, but yeah, this doesn't sound good at all. Especially for composers. For Discovery, it's probably the best thing ever.
Well, and the thing of it is that, music has never really been cheaper to put on. I mean, if you're doing a lower budget thing, or a thing that can't, afford to go out and, do big sessions in big places, I mean, you can still have excellent music. You can still have people make you music that sounds very, very, very good and works very, very, very well. And
you can
going this far,
this
going this far seems, I don't know, it doesn't seem wise to me, especially at a time when you're probably getting a lot of competition from, like, I feel like BBC nature stuff is getting really, really big, like, BBC stuff is getting huge. Disney's getting into the nature documentary game. I know that's not all of what Discovery Channel does, but I don't know. It just, it seems unwise to me, and I certainly think that it's probably unwise to work under this system. Although, if you're a composer and you can't eat this week unless you write for a Discovery Channel bit,
Yeah.
no judgment, man. No judge.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, we all got to do what we got to do,
no
man.
judgment.
Just read the contracts, get a lawyer.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Just be aware of what's and be aware of that it's not going to get better. That's my big thing. It's just
it's just going to get
sometimes
worse.
you work for a little less or in a different not ideal conditions, knowing that like once you prove yourself that it's going to get better. It's not going to get better with this.
Yep. Diversify, man.
So,
start a Twitch channel, live stream your composing, do mixing. You just got to have you got to do a bunch of things nowadays. Start a YouTube channel, do tips. It sounds stupid. We're just not that thing that we have in our mind when we want to be composers or whatever. We want to work music. You just think you're going to work in music all day. You're going to lock yourself in your room and that's all you're going to do. No, that's not how it works. But yeah, that sounds horrible, dude. I mean, I think just from me, starting to get serious about music in 2016, 2015, and then just we start this podcast and just being more aware of the issues and stuff. It's just like you said, Kurt. I don't think it's gonna get any better. With budgets being cut. Yeah. Obviously, if you land a big AAA game or Hollywood film, but I'm sure there's still pay cuts with that. Obviously, if you're just getting started, you don't know, so it all sounds good and that. But I mean, for well, of course, John Williams, whatever he wants, he gets because he's freaking John Williams.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that's I don't know, man. That's slimy. I think that's why I was saying did they give a reason? But it doesn't sound like it.
I mean, I don't know. Right. I honestly don't know. I have not looked into their response because I frankly don't care what it is.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean,
just don't care.
I agree with you.
There's nothing they could say there that I think makes this okay. Exactly. So I'm just not even going to listen to it.
Exactly. No, I totally get that. I totally agree. It's
so,
and that's the thing. Music. I watch my words here. I just think as a whole, people nowadays don't really value music as much. Maybe that's always been that way. I don't know. It just seems like when you actually had to go physically buy a CD or cassette or record or whatever, it was a physical thing. You know what I mean? You can physically hold the item. You know what I mean? And I think when we went to digital and Napster and the free and the downloads, I think it lost that because people are just like, oh, it's just a digital file. But there was still blood, sweat, and tears that went involved in creating that thing. And it doesn't matter if you're a painter, a musician, any artist, any creative, they need to get paid for their work. And I think that we're always going to have this battle, though. It's just what it is.
What I think is, I mean, I don't want to get political by any means, but as the United States economy becomes more service based, this is going to be all we do anymore. All we do anymore.
I mean, I don't think we've actually touched on the show is AI music, and I think we should touch on that maybe in the new year because I've seen it more and more. Computers writing music, and one day I don't know. I mean, yeah, for documentaries, I mean, are we looking for we're going to shift the goalposts soundtrack on a documentary or a nature film? I don't think so. We just need something to capture a feeling. Eventually, AI music will be able to do that, if not already. So, yeah, people that do that, their job might be in jeopardy. It's a real thing, man, and people need to wake up. Yeah, not to get political, not to get, all that, but it's a real thing. It's happening right in front of you. I mean, I've noticed, you go to your local grocery store, how many self-checkout lanes are there now? 20 years ago, there was maybe one, if you're lucky. And now it's you hardly ever see anybody working at a store, as far as a checkout counter. So it's real. All right. Well, I think we've mentioned that. Did we want to mention the other debacle that happened with VI Control? It's every 3 months something new happens with this guy. I'll just make a mention of it because I like Daniel. But yeah, if you haven't heard or if you don't follow on VI, Daniel James has been banned. It was just a matter of time, I guess. All I want to say is I guess the lesson from this is if you do have a following and you're trying to make a community, don't depend on another platform. Okay. Depend on your own platform. Kind of like what we're doing here. We have our own podcast. We have our own website. It's all hosted there. Yes, we use certain things to get the podcast out there, and we use other kind of forms of, Spotify, stuff like that, to get it out there. But eventually, at the end of the day, I still own the episodes. They're still on our website. So just, if you're on like something like that, I guess it's just advice for Daniel or anybody in his situation. If you get banned or something, start your own thing and create your own stuff. And your community, your fans, they will follow you and support you. If not, then they're not really your fans. So that's all I have to say kind of out of this. And I've noticed, this happens to some people. They get into a platform and they get big, but then when the platform goes away, they're no more. And it's the same with YouTube. Don't put all your eggs in YouTube. If you're doing well on YouTube and you do make a little bit of money from the ad rev, it's not much. I mean, if you're a YouTuber, you totally can verify for that, especially what we do, because we don't get a lot of views. Start a Patreon page or come up with a thing on your webpage. I know Rick Beato, he has some cool stuff that he does. What's it called? The Beato Club, I think. Yeah. So like, just bring some more things to your fans, so make them to support you. So anyway, that's just kind of my thing. It wasn't necessarily calling out Daniel, but just kind of like some advice, because like he really wants to get back on VI, but it's like, I think the best thing for him is to start his own forum, Discord channel, and bring his audience with him. So that's all I wanted to say.
Cool. Awesome, Daniel.
Yeah. I think we mention him every podcast too.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which I'm sure is part of why he does it. That's great. I personally find him very charming.
No, like
even when he's saying things that I'm like, you're so wrong, man.
I mean, I agree with him. Like when he called out Spitfire, with the whole.
See, I found most of his criticisms of like BBC SO just like I was just like, that's not like it's. Yeah,
I haven't heard it. I mean, the Hans Zimmer one I get, like I got and made sense.
Not convincing. Yeah. I don't know. Like it's like anytime someone's criticizing something because it doesn't fit in their specific workflow, I'm like, yeah, but your workflow is not the only workflow.
Right.
That's not a criticism. That just means you don't want to use it, which is fine.
Yeah, true.
Don't use
it. Doesn't work for you.
Well,
which is
cool.
okay.
But it doesn't matter. I find it impossible to be annoyed with him because he's so
very British.
I just love how he's just so
he's British.
I don't know what's a word, like passionate. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like he cares a lot, and he makes, and I like all of the stuff he makes.
So me too.
I like all his music, and I like all of his libraries sound awesome. I don't own any yet, but I'm sure that will change as soon as I need.
Alpha
something
and
in
Bravo.
It's going to be first place I go. So
yep, I own Alpha and Project Bravo. I don't have the third one, and I use them. They're really great. And no, like I said, I respect Daniel, everything he's done. He's earned everything he's got. I mean, this guy, he's been at it now for over 10, probably 10 plus. I found Daniel James a long time ago, before he was even like anything. And his old vlogs, I remember them. And like I'm just saying, like, yeah, he's earned everything he's got. But sometimes I just think he just needs to move on and just let it go. Like just, dude, you're shooting yourself in the foot. But like what I'm saying, for him, or anybody in his situation, your best bet is to create your own thing, period. Create your website. And he's danieljames.com or .co.uk, whatever the hell he's got. And create a forum there, or create your own Discord channel and bring your audience over to support you. That's all I wanted to say on that topic. All right.
Cool.
Let's move on to our final topic. And now for our final topic is Junkie XL Brass, which I'm sad to say I don't have any experience with it, but I've seen the videos and it's cool. I don't know if it's really up my alley because I like Cinebrass, obviously.
Yes.
But go ahead.
So yeah, this is an interesting library. Like I think the first trailer came out a couple weeks ago, and people were very excited about it. They hadn't heard anything from it before, and then this, I think it was like 20 to 30-second long trailer. For it's very cringy, the first like half of it, and then the second half.
Can I just say, whoa. To have Chris say it's cringy, that's real.
I don't know. I mean, like, how many times does Tom need to say, "Come on, guys, louder, louder, louder"? How do you know I haven't turned up my speaker all the way already, Tom? Come on, Anyway, but it was a very processed sound. It almost sounded harsh, a little bit brittle, and I didn't mind it that much, but a lot of people seem to get upset over that, and they're like, "This is what's being released? Are you sure?" And then after that, the walkthroughs kind of blew people away, especially the second one where they went through and played all the instruments. I will say the sound didn't blow me away. Like it's the Orchestral Tools sound. It's very nice. It's very clean. It sounds great. It's very full. It's very 3-4 dimensional. Like it covers up a lot of space, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's as punchy as Cinebrass. It's a little bit more rich, I think. That would be a word for it. It's more silky. It's a little more solid, whereas Cinebrass has this like brightness to it and this
crisp
rawness almost.
Yes.
Very
trebly,
exactly,
I guess. Trebly, crisp.
Yeah. So it works for that really declamate. If you have like a declamation, or if you're like really shouting something out with your brass, then I feel like Cinebrass is a really good way to go. Junkie XL Brass sounds like it has some really good low brass, and their staccatissimo, their shorts are usually very, very good anyway. Legatos sounds quite good. I haven't played too much with it yet, but it does sound quite nice. They have their adaptive legato as usual to follow along with your playing speed. And what's really cool is they recorded 5 dynamic layers, which is cool. So PP all the way up to triple F and stuff. And crossfading sounds pretty smooth. But in their new this is their first library that runs in their custom player, and you have this option to deactivate whichever dynamic layers you want. So most people write in the upper range is too much. You can just turn off the FFF layer and you're fine for the most part. If you want to write this chorale type of stuff, you can just turn off the F layers completely and just write piano. Another cool feature of the player is that you can create your own mic mixes and consolidate them so they take up the footprint of just one microphone position. That's pretty cool. And I think it's supposed to take up less processing power than Contact does, but I haven't played around enough to figure that out yet. But yeah, it's a pretty big library, about 300 gigabytes compressed. It's a lot of content, but they got Alan Meyerson and Junkie XL. He mixed some of it as well, but Alan Meyerson did his own mixes. So I'm definitely gonna play around with it. In a couple weeks and see how it goes. So we'll see.
Have intro special right now will end on January 20th. It's $5.99 plus VAT. So what is that? I don't know what that is.
No idea. Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Yeah, I don't know what that is in America, but it's 20% off right now. I went to the website and I see it. It swear to God, at first I thought it said Junkie Brass.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's really good because the XL, the X is like a cross and then the L.
Yeah.
So it's that's I don't know. So I was like Junkie Brass. That's kind of I don't know if that's really good marketing, but anyway, it doesn't matter because it's Orchestral Tools, and if you like their stuff, which I do, I just need to get more. But they're just they run a little high price for me.
Yeah, for sure.
It's for what you get.
It's only $662.97 US.
Okay,
actually.
Okay.
So.
Well, it's originally $749, so whatever that is. So it's got to be at
only
least
the cost of Composer Cloud Platinum for a year. That's all.
Okay.
Anyway.
the regular price that's probably what, $800.
It's $750. Yeah.
$750.
Whatever $750 is. $750.
Yeah.
Let me just Google it. €750 in dollars.
It's probably $800.
As
one
of
of those
right now, $830.
Yeah, $830.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Canadian, that's over 1,000. But
yeah.
if you can, this is one of those libraries you have to consider. Do you really need it? Because if you have a bunch of brass libraries, if you have some covering the top, dynamic ranges, some covering the low end, you might not really need it. And I feel like this one is a really nice supplementary library. I mean, an absolute beginner, it would be
Too much.
great if this is the type of music they're into. If they're looking for just like one solid solution, just keep them satisfied for a while, right? And it
Right.
seems like there's going to be other expansions to this too in the future, which could be cool, like with mutes maybe and things like that. But as a starter library, if you're looking for one-time investment, definitely check this out. If you have other libraries like Cinebrass, Cinematic Studio Brass, Hollywood Brass, whatever, those libraries do the loud pretty well anyway. And for soft, CSB does a good job too. So you just gotta listen to the demos, see what stands out, see if the walkthroughs satisfy you, and all that stuff.
Right.
Definitely don't impulse buy this just because Junkie XL is on the box.
Right.
I think I'm more excited about the player than this library. And
Right.
I'm excited
That's what
for
a lot
more
of people are
stuff to
saying.
come to this player because this player looks
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
great.
Yeah, sure.
The
Yeah,
like
they're gonna port all
auto
their-
like
over.
it checks the like auto transition to see if it's poking and mixes it down.
Right.
If it's poking, seems like something I would love to see in everything all the time.
Exactly. Right.
That kind of stuff. Like the player looks really great. I mean, the library looks great too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not
Mhm.
trying to diss the library by any means. I just I just the player is the thing that excites me more than the library, only because brass. It also it seems like it's I don't know, Chris, you have it, so you can kind of maybe more talk about whether this is true, but it seems like one of the things that they're really pushing is other libraries couldn't do this. Like they always show like Tom putting out these videos like I couldn't do this and then playing some score he wrote with my
Right.
current libraries, and it's like always like Tchaikovsky quadruple F, tripled on 40 sounds like 47 Chimbasi, or something like that.
Yeah,
And that's great because it's true. That is hard to get that just sheer size, unless you're really really mixing a lot of different stuff. But so I don't know if that's really what it is. But
I think the biggest thing he was talking about, I mean, I didn't really watch his YouTube live on it either, but I feel like he was saying he didn't have a lot of smooth transitions between dynamic layers, and he also didn't have the dynamic range that he really wanted to do the mockups he wanted to. And I mean, yeah, I feel like this library really does a good job crossfading between those layers, but yeah, I mean, Tom is obviously very excited about the library, and a lot of people are. And the player is what really has some really cool features in it, which we'll explore more in the future. But yeah, we'll see.
I'm curious, does he handle dynamics like he does his percussion with brass, or no?
I can't comment on that. I have no idea.
Okay. You know what I mean, right? Like how he, instead of, I guess, might not work very well with percussion because on the brass because the notes. Percussion, you can it's not really notes. You're just doing the dynamic layers of the drum. So because he's a very dynamic. He writes very dynamically. So I could see what you're saying there with he can't get the dynamics that he wants out of certain sample libraries. So I'm curious from that perspective to see how it sounds. Like I said, I haven't heard the thing. I haven't really watched any of the videos, so I can't really speak to it right now. But I definitely will when I get more time. But I was just curious about that.
Yeah. No, I think I don't know. I feel like the coolest feature is just the ability to turn off the layers you want.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
really useful, and
it's probably Spitfire.
Turning off the layers, the mic merging is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I will never ever use it, but it's cool that exists. That's a cool solution.
Right.
A lot of the other stuff that they go for, I'm like, download one trumpet. Yeah, I'm gonna spend €800, $800 on a library and download one instrument, one mic position. Right. Okay. I just thought that was very bizarre. I mean, it's cool they can do that, and it's obvious that that's not a contact thing. That's never going to be in contact unless they completely rewrite it. So that makes sense. Even though it's just like this seems like a problem
or
a solution in search of a problem.
I just got a killer idea, dude. We need to create a Composing Made Simple online store that's like built into like all these players, so you could just buy libraries right from it. kind of like the App Store. Jesus,
Mm.
we need to make that.
Cool.
If anybody makes that, just get with me.
Well, and that's what I was seeing from some people. I mean, some people are pretty annoyed that the store is in the actual instrument in the
Yeah.
VST. So it'd be maybe nice to see them have a version of it where you could like at least turn it off in the non-standalone version. Although apparently it doesn't load it doesn't use any resources unless you actually open the store, which
That's cool.
seems fair.
I'm
That seems like
surprised there's not a store, like a sample library store. Like, you know what I mean? Like people can get all their libraries.
There is.
on-
It's called Native Access.
Oh, which is shit. But anyway. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about this. It looks pretty cool. Like I said, the player looks awesome.
Yeah, I
And,
mean-
the library looks really cool. It's not
Yeah.
something that I have
Gravitate
ever done
towards?
or probably
Yeah.
ever will do, but it's cool. It looks great. It sounds great. All their walkthroughs are stunning. Some of the way they handle the shorts with like making them sound double and triple and quadruple tongued sounds really good. It sounds really, really good. And that's hard. That is really hard. So I mean,
Cool.
props to them. I hope it's very successful.
Weren't they?
Right.
Weren't people giving them crap for the voiceover on the video?
Oh yeah, the voiceover is a little much.
Yeah,
The
okay.
voiceover is a little much. Talking about all the library.
I think we talked about that last episode.
Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah, because the
kinda-
video
I
just
kinda
dropped,
missed
didn't it? Yeah, the video just dropped when we
Yeah.
did the last episode. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's right. No, like I said, Orchestral Tools, I have nothing bad to say about them. I own Berlin Woodwinds, and I got that a long time ago. I think it's even different now. They've really revamped
Mhm.
their offerings, so you can kind of get into it earlier now. You don't have to spend, freaking $2,000 just to get one library. I'm exaggerating, but, they're on the higher end of the spectrum, obviously, but I think
like
it's
on the higher
justified.
End
Yeah.
of the spectrum,
Yeah. It's
like quality wise too.
Right,
It seems
right.
like I own nothing by them, so
That's what I'm
Right.
saying. Like, it's justified. The cost is justified because you do get a great product. And I'm just curious to see why Tom went with Orchestral Tools. I mean, did they approach him or did he approach them? Kind of thing. Because it's like
He said
Spitfire
he,
grabs Hans Zimmer, and it's like Jesus.
Yeah. I believe I saw something about them meeting up for something, and then
Okay.
Tom was talking about like them, or it's something like he wanted to create a library, and then originally talked about creating a string library, and then they ended up with Brass.
Okay.
So
Do you
that's
think he's gonna
interesting,
make strings, woodwind, and all that? I wonder.
I think it's definitely possible. I don't.
Who did
I
he
don't,
do his
'cause I
percussion
think-
library with?
Yeah.
he's got stuff on. I mean, he did mixing on
Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer
yeah.
percussion.
He's got
Yeah.
but didn't he come
and
out with his
mixes are the
own?
best ones in there.
Or no,
I'm
he
not
did.
aware of a.
No,
I'm
I'm
not
thinking.
aware
I'm
of his
thinking
own
of the Audio
actual-
Alley. Sorry,
yeah, that's LA.
because it's kind of
percussion.
because it's kind of programmed like he programs drums. Sorry.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's
it,
where I'm
yeah.
getting confused. Sorry, I don't think he has a
Right.
brass or a percussion library. My apologies.
Not yet. I'm
Not
sure
yet,
we'll
right?
see it.
It's in the works.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. Like I said, I like Tom. I remember finding his YouTube channel, and then right when I think Mad Max was coming out, and I did like the score, just because he added guitars to it, and it was just really cool. And
Oh yeah, all his scores are
yeah,
great.
and
Right.
he can write. I mean, he's no slouch. He's got chops. So yeah, no, it's just really cool. I was just saying, I was just curious to see if he mentioned how that all came about, because it's like my first gut instinct would Spitfire would scoop him up, but I think
Right.
from where he comes from, like just saying what you were just saying about like what he wanted, I don't know if Spitfire would have done that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they want to
right.
do it their, you know what I'm saying? It's no knock towards Spitfire. I'm just saying like they would want to do it the Spitfire thing, and I think Tom would be a little hesitant, kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know. That's just my guess, I guess.
For sure.
All right, so I guess what we wanted to do to close out this episode of the year for 2019 is basically what we're looking forward to in 2020. Kind of where we want to go with our music, or what we're kind of looking forward to, any libraries or any score, anything. So I guess I'll start. Obviously, for me, is to write more music. Let's start there
Yeah.
for me. Let's start simple.
Sure.
Like I said, I started off 2019 writing and kind of taking a different thing, kind of taking a step back and kind of going back to my roots and playing more guitar. And I've kind of found myself over the year, kind of trying to incorporate more guitar-ish stuff and kind of just, filling out my influences and kind of trying to discover what my sound would be, I guess, with an orchestra or sound design or synths. I did go down the rabbit hole for a couple months and just doing synth stuff and just trying to write synth tracks with strings. It was fun, and sometimes I think we need to do that. We need to just go have fun. I'm obviously, if you do this for a job and a living like Curtis and Chris you do, you might not have time to do that. But if you're in it like me, it's good just to do that stuff. But I guess I have to say, to end, what I would like to see in 2020 is I would love to write a short film score. I think that would be really cool. Just kind of give me something to do and give me that kind of drive to, like, even if it's for free or $10, even if someone's just gonna pay me $10 to do like a 10-minute short, I think that would be really cool. Like something to do for me. So yeah, I mean, that might be something I might look out and try to accomplish next year. But yeah, that's kind of my thing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
All right,
You're up, Chris.
Batter
All
up.
right. Yeah, in terms of next year, I want to explore more jazz stuff. I want to listen to more and kind of expand my knowledge upon that, because it's such a cool part of just music in general, the language of it. It's just so, it can be so complex, but at the same time, there's a system to it. So that's definitely what I'm looking forward to. In terms
Good
of
luck.
libraries, I'm looking forward. Thank you.
Find some
Looking
jazz
forward to-
players and go play with them, dude. That's the best way to learn it.
Yeah, for sure. Gotta learn some theory first, but
You know your theory, dude.
but-
No, you're good.
well, not jazz theory very well. That's
It's
what I'm
the
talking
same
about more.
shit. Just add a seventh and a ninth, dude. Come on.
Yeah. No, my bad. Improvising is a different beast.
Well, dude,
That's-
yeah, there you go. That's why jazz was always attractive to me, because I like to
Yeah.
improvise. And I know a lot of classical players, which you come from, like, I always wondered about that. Like, because I used to date a girl and she played the flute and, she read music and it
Yeah.
was like, hey, let's just jam. She's like, where's the music at? I'm like, I don't know, just play.
Right.
So like
Right.
that's why jazz was always kind of a cool thing for me. I played jazz, like I took one semester in community college and I did jazz ensembles and it was fun, man. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
You
Right.
gotta learn how to play off each other and listen. You gotta learn how to listen, dude. Listen with
Sure.
your ears. That's jazz. But no, that's cool,
Right.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of libraries, looking forward to see what Alex does with Cinematic Studio Woodwinds. That'll be interesting. Everyone's looking forward to that, pretty much.
Oh,
And,
yeah, that's been in the works for a while.
Yeah. I mean, they recorded at the same time as the Brass, which came out at the end of last year. So we'll just see how things turn up. It's
Well, I'm just saying, like,
supposed
this
to
whole
be out,
package has
I
been in the
think.
works for, like, what, 3 or 4 years? Like, strings came out first. I have those.
Yeah.
And solo strings. Now the brass. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Any, like, score? Are you interested in scoring films or anything like that?
Don't know actually. I mean,
I think video games would
I
be
feel
better
like-
for you.
yeah, maybe that. And I'm working on an album right now of like kind of the stuff I do, just to have a collection
Oh,
of new
That's on
material
my
and-
list of what I'm looking forward to then.
Cool.
I'm looking forward to Chris's album.
Yeah.
Oh,
Definitely.
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Like I said, I still remember you come to my live stream and show me that one track.
Yeah,
man, that you
man.
did.
That
I was
was
blown
great.
away,
Thank
man. I
you.
was like, dude, this is awesome. Because I literally
You should
thought I was
listen.
listening to the Mario soundtrack. I was like, dude, someone's trying
That's
to prank
definitely
me here.
inspiration.
They're trying
Yeah.
to troll me.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that was fun. And then when you listen, I'm like, oh, I feel so special.
Yeah, dude, every time I hear one of your tracks, man, it's
It's
just
great.
like your production's always, right there where it needs to be for the track. No, it's always good. Your melodies are always great. You're good.
I guess for me, I'm looking for stuff to come out.
Yes.
I've been spending
Yes.
2020 working on a lot of things that
Nice.
no one has heard yet that I'm looking forward for everyone to hear and see what they say. So
Do we have any exclusives, Curtis?
I can't give you any exclusives. Sorry. I don't want to get fired.
I
Yeah.
I'm enjoying not being fired right now. So
We
we
once
got
it's
some
out,
pretty.
right?
I will say, well, yeah, I'll be able to talk a little bit more of it as it gets out and stuff. And we've been hard at work, and it's coming together. So we've been very pleased how it's been coming together. So we're excited about it.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
Awesome.
And
Nice.
so yeah, that's really what I'm looking forward to, is just seeing how watching the response to it. You know,
You're gonna be on pins and needles, man. Right when that thing
Yeah.
comes out. But no, dude, it's
yeah,
gonna be
I'm very
great.
excited what they're gonna do with it. You know, and it's interesting working on a big project like this. You don't always know where things are gonna end up in it.
Yeah.
And
what's
and,
next?
you know, people who are working with you are super good, and you know, they're gonna do stuff that you could never have thought of. You know, and it's gonna be
Right.
like, oh, they did that. Oh, okay, and that sounds like that's gonna be a pretty great process. So yeah.
Cool.
Or what's
Awesome.
next after that project, right?
Yeah.
That too. Yeah, that too.
Yeah. I'm happy for you, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm
Awesome.
very pleased. So.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to close out
Wonderful.
our 2019. It's been a great,
Yay,
interesting,
we
great
did it.
year. A lot of stuff's happened, at least for us personally. You know, Chris, Curtis, and myself. We just want to say thank you for letting us, fill your ear holes with our with our discussions, and hopefully you enjoyed them. Hopefully in 2020 we'll be able to, like we've mentioned, we can elevate the podcast and make it more live. Like I said, we're still working out logistics. It's just timing. Obviously, as you heard, Chris
Yeah.
Curtis is pretty busy, and I'm busy. So it's just trying to find where all our schedules line up where we can do that. But we are all interested in doing that. We think it would be really great for the show. So hopefully we'll be able to implement that next year. But maybe that's one of the goals for the podcast. But anyway, thank you for letting us, like I said, listening to us. And please send us an email. It's podcast@composingmadesimple.com, or you can just reach out on Twitter. You can find all of our information at composingmadesimple.com. We have all of our info there. But as always, thank you again, and we'll look forward to bringing you more episodes in the new year, in 2020, and also have a great holidays with your family, and be safe.
Yay.
Take care, everybody.